Hey folks, welcome back. This is your old pal Hondo doing another reel maintenance video for you folks on a vintage ZEBCO ul3 Feather Touch reel. This is the reel right here. These were the micro line of ZEBCO 33 classic reels back in the day. Very beautiful, well done made reel. Has a bait runner on it, and it has one ball bearing, brass pinion gears. Makes a clicking noise, the little clickers on the back of the push button. Okay folks, this is a micro reel. It's one of their smaller versions of the reel. It has this stupid feather touch spring on the inside, which is a pain in the butt to try to maintenance these reels, but it's not undoable. This reel's a little bit different to take apart than most of the other reels that I've done already. We'll need a flathead screwdriver for this one, and maybe a pair of pliers or something like that, and a small bath to put the parts in, to spray down with WD-40. Got a new can of WD-40, some oil, and some Vaseline for the spinner head, and regular ball bearing grease for the reel, for the gears in the reel. Okay, the first thing you want to do is you want to take the spinner cone protector off, and right here you have one pickup pin. It's an older reel from the 1980s, like 86, 87. It's a little bit older than my old Rhino ul3. It's a little bit more difficult to work on, probably. You take this cap off and you hold the handle down and pull the top of the spinner off right here. Spinner it's in okay shape, but it's a little dry. It needs to be cleaned. Right here you have a pin that you have to take the flathead screwdriver and pull the pin off like so. I mean, I don't know how you can see it here. You just pull the pin off of it. And try not to ruin the plastic here. And it comes right off right there. Put that in another spot there. Now we'll take the spinner head off here. Little piece of plastic goes on top, keeps the line from going underneath the spool. Pull the spool off the top very gently, and there should be a washer and a small Teflon washer underneath it. So it's right here. This will have to be cleaned off because it's a really old reel, and it's tiny, and it's a little bit harder to work on than most reels. You take a screwdriver and try to gently pull this piece of plastic off of here, if we can. Okay, there it goes, finally. Put that washer, you wipe these washers off by hand. We'll do that later. We'll put this in the bath. And now that we're done that, we got this little washer right here. It's called the drag washer on the bottom here. It's really small, so you kind of want to take a screwdriver maybe to unhook it. You can wipe that off as well. There's a little notch right here on this side here that the washer goes back into. The this little spot right here, the slot right here, goes back in like so on this little slot right here, and there's like a little spot right here is the drag right here. I don't know if you can see it. It's like a little flathead screwdriver thing that has to go back onto. Okay, now we got that done. We're going to take off the screw here, take off the handle. Comes right off. And we'll take that screw off real quick, and take it off, pull the handle. Handle's in good shape. It's not bent or anything like that. As you can see, if it's bent, you could put it on a small vice grip and bang it out with a hammer, but the handle's really nice. Now, the hardest part is getting the back plate off. You just twist it off. It has these two little sides right here on each side, and a little indentation that helps you put it back on. Oh, look at the gears on this one. Yeah, this is pretty bad. This is crunchy. we're going to have to pull these two bushings out right here on the side of the reel with a flathead screwdriver and pull these center gears out. And here's the little tricky anti-reverse mechanism, which is a pain in the butt to try to do. Put back into place. Push both of these bushings out gently. Take a pair of pliers and just pull them out the rest of the way here. Keep dropping it. It's such a tiny reel. And right here is you pull this whole center gear out, take the pinion gear out last, and just pull the whole assembly out, like so. And right here at the bottom, I don't know if you can see that, but right here is the drag. This is the anti-reverse mechanism. It all goes together in one shot, like so. But what happens is that this hooks onto the back of the, like this. You just hook it on the back of that, like that. When you're putting it back together, you put this on top of it, like so. And this little wire guide right here, when you put all this back into the reel itself, you put this on top of it like that, over the center of this reel here. Like that, and then you put the little washer on top of it, the anti-reverse washer on top of it, all together like that. When you put this back in the reel, like so, it should go right back in there, real easy. And we're going to take out the pinion gear next. Pinion gear is right here in the middle. We'll take that out. And that's basically all you need to remove out of this, except when you're cleaning the body. Spray with WD-40 toothbrush. Clean that ball bearing in the middle out, and clean the surrounding area. Oil that little switch right there, and you should be good. Of course, this is the first one I ever found with the little clicking piece of plastic that is actually intact. That is a good plus about this reel. So we will have a bait clicker for it. Okay, folks, now we got all the parts in here. We don't need to clean the bushings off. We'll just use a couple of cotton Q-tips to clean that out. Then we're going to bust out the WD-40, coat all these parts down, and get ready to clean. Spray out the wheel gear first, and the pinion, and the body and the cover. Everything gets it. On both sides it gets it. Spray the inside of the spinner head out real good. Okay, I think that's enough oil there. Maybe on the inside here. Clean that out. That's good enough. Alright, this is where you use the wire brush right here for the gears. If I can get this line off of here, for the gears, the wire brush. And we use the toothbrush on the finer parts like plastic and the spinner head. We're going to start cleaning. First is the spinner with the toothbrush. Okay, folks, the reel has been bathed in WD-40 and it's done. Now the tedious part is to put it back together, wipe off all the excess grease on a lot of these little parts here, and we'll wipe off the grease and we'll just re-grease these little washers. We put the reel back together, and you just want to wipe off any excess grease on the small odds and ends washers, the small moving parts like the anti-reverse. You just wipe all the crud off of it and just re-grease everything with new grease. Clean them off, and I think we got basically, where's the drag washer? There it is. Okay, we're going to wipe down the drag washers, the spool washers as well. Just give them a light wiping down. We'll just recoat them with Vaseline. Okay, we're going to clean out any dirt in the cover, because that's where a lot of the dirt gets collected into the reel, and any excess oil from the WD-40 will also help polish this and make it alright. We'll put a little bit of grease behind the spinner head right here when we put it all back together, and clean off the head really good. Should be nice and clean. The little rubber line brake is in good shape on this one. And wipe down the body of the reel, any of the excess oil that doesn't need to be on there, any old grease, and sometimes you might want to use a Q-tip to get into these little spots you can't quite get a rag into, just to clean out any excess grease or anything like that. As well, right here, you just got to make sure you clean that little ball bearing off really well, and hit it with some WD-40, because sometimes those ball bearings in the center will freeze up and cause the reel not to function properly. And we'll just clean the inside out with this here small Q-tip here. These are really good to pull all the excess, pull the dirt and grind out of this, and the excess oil and crud that you don't want in there. So you can start using regular oil, 2-in-1 oil in here, or gun oil. Okay, we got that done. What you're going to do first is put a little bit of oil on the ball bearing by dripping some oil, like a drop on the ball bearing, a couple drops. Put some here on the drag as well, on that side. Flip it over, put a drop on the other side. It'll soak into it. That's all you need to oil on this part here. Right here you may need to oil this as well, because it's kind of tight, the anti-reverse switch right here. So you want to oil it on the inside. I think you got it. And just work that oil in. So yeah, it's starting to move a lot better now. Okay, now we're done with that. Wipe down the pinion gear here that we cleaned right there. The wheel gear also needs to be wiped down just a little bit, so we can put grease on it. As you can see, it's really clean, brass gear wheel, really nice. Take the rear cover and just wipe it down. This is in a really good shape reel. The only thing was the downside about it was the little foot right here was damaged from the old school rod it was sitting on, which shouldn't have never been. Okay, now we're going to reassemble the reel. The first thing we're going to do is open the grease up, and we're going to grease the gear, wheels and stuff down. First thing we're going to grease is the pinion gear goes in first. So we're going to grease the pinion gear right here with some grease. Just a light coat of grease. You don't need much. Like one fingerful will do. And that's good enough. And then you put a little bit of grease on the shaft, not on the spring. Just a little bit of grease on that. That helps coat it and helps it spin around in the ball bearing right here. Place it into the ball bearing. Well, actually, I think, yeah, you put that in first. There's a little slot right here behind that where that little anti-reverse switch goes. I'll show you a quick, easy way for that. I'm just going to grease up the anti-reverse switch for this. Just grease it up really nice. And we'll put that back together, grease the washer, grease the little R-shaped gear wheel. And we need to grease this as well on the outside, on both sides, and the main gear wheel. Grease that up real nice on one side here. This grease will help all over this thing. Will help reel in the bushings. You really don't need much grease, you just need a little bit. Flip it over, do the other side on the back end of it. Okay, now we're going to reassemble the back of this gear wheel. The way you want to do it first and foremost is you want to lay that little anti-reverse switch down like that, and on top of it, it will stick to it. And what you do is you put this little washer on, you put this little like spring right here, like that, little triangle. Lay the washer right on top of it, and it goes over the top, I believe. I might have put this on the wrong way. Yeah, it goes on the gear wheel like that. Sorry, it goes on the gear wheel like that. Put this over there like this on top of it. But by doing this, there should be, when you put this back in, it should go back in one shot. But like I said, it's the pain in the butt to do. And then you put it over the top, like so, in the reel, and hope it don't fall out. And you get this gear back in here. Push it in hopes that it will go in easy. And sometimes you gotta coax it in there a little bit to get it in there. But it should go in there nice and easy. And she went in there. And sometimes you need like a little, like a little tool to kind of push it, the mechanism underneath the anti-reverse switch. And it's good to go, I think. It's not pushing. So put the bushing back inside right on one of these ends here, and put the other bushing in on the other end here, and try to get these two bushings back into place on both sides of that gear wheel. You take this little punch tool and just push it down as far as it'll go on top of that reel, and push that down right there as well. It should go and stop, go and stop, but I'm not. These are a little tricky compared to other reels. Okay, there it goes. Sometimes it takes a little bit once you get it into place. Put back together. Now we're going to do the spinner head. Fuck it. Now we're going to put the now it's put back together. Now we're going to put on the back plate. There's a little notch here that goes right there, and it should just twist right on there. Come on. Of course, my hands are greasier than sin. There it goes. Pops back into place. Now we're going to stick some grease on the handle here. And shove it back in the right hand spot. Plug in the little screw that goes on the back end right here. And we need a flathead screwdriver for this deal. And and tighten it up tight as it'll go. Now we're going to reassemble the head right here. We'll reassemble the top piece. We need some Vaseline for this job. I'm going to first coat the inside of this reel with some Vaseline on the inside right here. And coat it. We're going to coat all the washers with some Vaseline. Just a little bit will do. The Teflon drag washer as well. It goes on top of that. A little bit on here. On the bottom. Just helps coat it. Put some on this little plastic piece right here as well. And some on the spinner head itself. You know, put a little bit right there as well on the spinner head, so it helps the line go out. And that's all you really need, and maybe a little bit of oil on that as well right here on the spring, just a drop. And we have the spool here. We're going to put some Vaseline on the spool, just on the bottom and around the center, and a little bit on the top here. Okay, now first thing we're going to replace is the drag washer. You want to make sure that little screw head's like slanted this way, and the way you put it on there is like this. Try to jimmy it in there like that, and then when you do that, you put the drag on the lowest setting. It's the highest, so it's on the lowest setting as we speak. That way it's easier to put the spool back on. Okay, we're going to put the metal drag washer and the plastic drag washer. Metal drag washer goes on the bottom, plastic goes on top. Put the spool back on top, like that. And after we do that, we're going to put this little plastic piece back on top. It has a little bit of oil on top as well. And then we're going to add the retaining pin back into here with a screwdriver of some sort, like so. Oh God. Try not to hurt yourself. There it goes. Finally we got the washer on there. Okay. What in the hell? We finally got the drag to work right. Wow, what a pain in the butt. Now we're going to put the spinner head back on and hold the handle down. And hope to God this thing goes on. Put the spinner head on there. And tighten it up by hand until it tightens up. And oily, greasy little thing that it is. Tighten it up as tight as it'll go. Put the comb back on. You want the hole to face down, and there's little notches right here where you put it, like so, in here, and close it up. And there you go. It's in somewhat better shape than it was. It's a little rough, but it should work. The only thing downside about it is the anti-reverse is working now. There you go. Everything's working. It's a little rough on the inside. So, it's as good as clean as I'm going to get. If you like this how-to video on servicing a ul3 feather touch from the 1980s, mid-80s, please hit the like, share, and subscribe. This has been your old pal Hondo from Hillbilly Tactical. And y'all know what you do. You put God first. He puts you first every time. You know what else, YouTube? God loves you. So does Hondo. Peace out.
Tell me pretty lies. Look me in the face. Tell me that you love me, even if it's fake.